If you want to capture emotion really well in the photos that you paint, you need to really focus on facial proportions. And a good way how I get this down is by looking at where all of the shadows are on the face. So I ask myself, where are the darkest areas on this face? And I map all of them out. I create like shapes. You see, you can create a bean like shape on top of her eyes because that's where the darkest shadows are also shining. And you can look too, where else is the darkest area? So that's underneath her nose and around her cheeks. So I map all of those areas out, and then after that I create the facial shape. She has an oval face shape, so I create that as well in my trace, and I created her hair, and from here we're pretty much ready to start. So what you're gonna do in this next phase is you're gonna fill out all of those dark areas that you created, and you're not creating like a very complex detailed trace out. This is just for your guidelines, and this is so you know like a good place to start off with. So what I did is I took some of my French ultramarine blue and I mixed it with some burnt umber, and now I'm going to be filling out all of those areas that I traced out. So this is like just filling in all of those blanks. It's like color by the number pretty much. So you just created the trace for yourself, and now you're filling out all of those blank areas. And after you fill out all of these dark areas, then you will have one layer that is complete. And you need to look at painting like a set of different layers instead of like puzzle pieces that you click next to each other. Alright, and in this video I'll be going over certain steps that I go over in my 7-step guide. That's how to paint portraits perfectly every single time. And if you're interested, you should definitely check that out. It's in the description, and you're also going to join my emailing list where you're going to get some more free value. So now I'm filling out all of those areas, and I'm creating like small little traces so that the facial details really stand out. I'm going to bring the reference photo back on the screen so you can see. So this is the stage of the painting that's going to take you the longest because there's a lot of shadows in this photo, and you also want to move from your dark colors all the way to the light. So I'm just looking at where all of the dark places are in this photo, and I'm just putting them all down, and the white areas are where the lighter colors will be. So I also mapped out where the pupils are, and I'm going to do that for both of the eyes. I'm also going to put some shadowing underneath the eyes, and you see that there's the shadows in her mouth and also her bottom lip, and I'm tracing all of those areas out, and I'm using a smaller brush because the details in this photo are pretty fine. But if you're working on a larger piece, I would definitely recommend that you use some larger brushes and use a wider range, because when you have like a different set of brushes that you can really use from all the way from fine tip all the way to your large tip, it makes painting a whole lot easier rather than you having to like squeeze your brush into a small area, because that's how detail is lost. And when you're able to really like sharpen those small details that you see in all of your photos, then that's when it will really pop out and it'll start to look realistic. So I have a set of around 5 different size brushes. You can get some pretty cheap ones off of Amazon, or you can get it from your art store. I think that was a really good investment personally if you really want to create some nice looking photos, especially if you're working large or even medium size. So over here I'm using my larger brush and filling out this large area of where the shadows are. And I'd also like to recommend that when you are painting, to not put too much pressure onto your brush or onto the paper, because even if you mess up when you brush very lightly, it's easy to clean it up. Because you saw that I got a little bit on the neck, but I'm not using too much pressure, so it's very easy for me to clean up. Oil paint is kind of hard to clean up when you're brushing like very hard and it's getting all into the canvas. So use a light stroke, and it makes it very easy too. And you don't want to put too much pressure just in general whenever you're painting. You need to have a free flow. You need to have a very loose hand. You need to be in the moment, because whenever I'm trying to force a painting, or whenever I'm trying to really twist something in a way and not let it like naturally flow, then that's when I see that the paintings don't really come out that good. I know it's like kind of weird to think about, but each time that you just sort of let go and you let yourself be loose and let yourself relax, then the painting will come out a lot better. And I would always think that me trying to force the painting and trying to create something that isn't free flowing would give me the outcome that I want, but it never really turns out that way. So that's what I really recommend too. It's a very important advice that I'll spread out to all of you guys. Just be in the moment, let yourself relax whenever you're painting, because it will go a very long way. So yeah, now I'm moving on to the lighter color, and you see that I'm using some of my teal and I'm mixing it with that ultramarine blue that I used from earlier, and this is creating that lighter tone. So this is now onto the next phase. I'm completely done with all of the shadows, so now it's time for me to go on to the next darkest color, and these are the colors that will be surrounding all of your darkest colors. You see that it's just going to create a smooth transition onto the lighter colors when we do get to them. So for this area, I'm going to be using my large brush to create a nice transition from the dark colors all the way to the light colors on the forehead. And using the large brush makes this very easy because it blends colors very seamlessly. But if I were to use my smaller brush, that would be for if I want to create smaller details around the eyes or in the nose. But I'll use my larger brush for areas such as the forehead, the cheeks, the nose, and those large areas that need a fade from dark colors to light colors. So looking back at the reference photo, you can point out where all of these areas are by looking at where there's the black and when it's starting to transition into blue. So it's those mid-tone areas that are around the eyes and around the forehead. There's a lot on the forehead and also around the cheeks. And I didn't use black yet because I didn't want the black to really stain the photo and mess it up. So it's a little bit safer to use like a really dark blue or a dark brown before you move into your blacks, because black is a color that's kind of hard to clean up if you ever do mess it up. So just to be cautious, I start off with my darkest blue. Also, when I'm creating other portraits of like skin tones, I'd use like a burnt umber, or I use like a really dark tan just to map out where all of those shadows will go, because I don't really like going in with black right away because it's sort of a risky move, and it's easier to just layer on top of the dark areas that you make with the dark blue with black and just blend those areas in, and then you have your darkest colors. And for the next stage of my layering phase, I mix some of my teal with my white to create a light colored blue, and I'm filling out all of those empty areas now that you see on her face. So everything will be filled out after I'm done with this. And this is the phase that is very fun, and it's very, you can take a step back now because you're pretty much done with all of your heavy lifting, and you're able to just sharpen up the photo now and see it come to life. And I tell people that blocking out is the hardest phase really when you're painting, but after you get that done, then you're pretty much good because there's very little more work that you have to really do. And after you've done this enough times, then the muscle memory sort of kicks in and you're able to start blocking out very, very easily, and you're able to really spot out where those dark colors are in your photos, and you're able to see where to really put focus into, and you know how to really trace everything out, just like how I did over here. So practice makes perfect. Just keep on practicing, even if you feel like you're not really that good at blocking out right now, or you feel like you're not really that good at your proportions or tracing or any sort of phase of the painting process. Just keep on doing it. Just keep on trying. Some of my paintings come out bad, and I'm not perfect. I don't have perfect photo come out every single time, but the thing is, I just move on to the next photo. That's exactly how you should be thinking about it. If one photo isn't good, don't spend too much time on it. Don't really like stress over it. Just move on to the next painting and just reiterate, fix up those mistakes that you made on the last one, find places that you can really improve, and just put more effort into it next time. And the more that you do it, you're gonna see you're gonna become faster as well too. Now I'm able to create paintings in about like 1 hour, 2 hours. This one took me about like an hour 30, and that was just me sitting down just grinding it all out. So now for this next stage too, I'm using my same color that I made before with the light blue, and I mixed some of my white in there just to lighten it up a bit. And I'm using the same color for the eyes as well, because the eyes in this reference photo are light blue. I don't really use white for the eyes because it's not really going to give it that realistic look. You want to use a very light color. It's sometimes yellow, it's sometimes a little bit bluish, sometimes like a little bit brownish. And I'm just using my very, very small brush for these small details and the reflections on her eyes. And I'm going to be using the same light blue for the white spots that are on her forehead and also on her nose. And that'll give us a nice smooth transition into our whites around the face. And after the whites, then we go in with our blacks. And we're pretty much done now. We're just adding these small little details and making this painting really stand out. So I really want to emphasize that you focus on these small details and don't miss out on them, because they have a very sharp effect on your final piece. And if you think about it, the painting process is very simple. You just break it down into a few easy steps that you follow each time, and it's really not that complicated. And I don't believe those people that say that art is just talent, like, oh, you need to be born with this, you need to be born good, or you can't get good, because that is not true at all. I believe that anybody can get really good at painting or some sort of artistic skill if they just put enough time and enough energy into it, because I've done it myself. I wasn't born with this ability to paint or this ability to create portraits. I basically built all of this from scratch, because even if you look at my old paintings, I wasn't really that good at all. So what I did is I learned from some teachers, some mentors along the way, and now I'm trying to pass this information down to all these people who want to get good at this and find some sort of passion inside of painting, or create some sort of business out of it. So when you get good at this, you can also start selling your artwork, which is what I've done before, and I think that is a very fun thing to do. So that's why I created this 7-step guide that you can follow easily every single time, and it's linked in the description. And from here, you're also going to join my emailing list, where you're going to get early access to my coaching that I'll be launching. So over here, you're going to get access if you want to work with me, and if you have any questions or if you're struggling along the process, I'm going to be there for you, and I'm going to guide you along these steps, and I'm going to get you from where you are all the way to a place that you want to be. So I definitely recommend that you check that out, no matter what level you are. But now we are pretty much done with the painting. We're just finishing up these final touches with our black. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.